responsible for Kamala Harris's early exit from the 2020 race. According to at least one of her Democratic colleagues, it's because the media was unfair to her campaign.
The way that the media have treated Senator Harris in this campaign has been something else. In the last few days, to see articles out of Politico, the New York Times, Washington Post, that have basically trashed her campaign, I think held her to a different standard, a double standard.
All right, so does Julian Castro have a point about the media holding Harris to a different standard? Does it even, though, compare to the coverage that we see of the president almost every day? Joining us live is the president of District Media Group, Beverly Hallberg. Hi, Beverly. Good morning to you. You know, I can't imagine that any of the Democratic candidates have seen one iota of the kind of coverage that Trump gets on a daily basis.
Yeah, if you can't handle this type of coverage, you're definitely not going to be able to handle prime time for whoever the nominee is. And look, the reality is with Senator Harris, she didn't have a media issue. She had a fundraising issue. What her voters saw is that she was running a bad campaign. They didn't want to donate anymore. But yet what we see from Julian Castro, also Cory Booker, is that they're attacking the media. And also, and this is interesting, they're attacking their own base, claiming that they're racist and sexist. And that's why her campaign didn't continue. So I think Republicans are used to identity politics being thrown at them. Apparently, Democrats are throwing them against their own now.
Let's take a look at some of her third quarter fundraising, and you'll see the total receipts. You got that number right there. And the burn rate, 123%. I mean, I guess, I don't know. You hear so many people making excuses for everything nowadays, and you wonder, why do we have to blame someone? I mean, she dropped out. She's not going to be running for president anymore. And obviously, numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, running for office is a hard thing, especially when you're on the stage of trying to win a nomination. And some of those reports that Julian Castro were talking about, you saw Politico, Washington Post, the New York Times, doing stories on the Harris campaign. What they were focusing on is what people in D.C. and people in the campaign world have been hearing for a long time, and that is there was a lot of infighting. You did have individuals on her campaign leak to the media of the problems that were going on. We know the president doesn't like leaks, but the media report on his leaks. This was fair game, and it makes me wonder why Julian Castro and Cory Booker are making these types of claims, and I wonder if it's because they have not yet been cleared for the debate stage. Maybe they're trying to get a little of the spotlight themselves, get their numbers up so that they can be there on December 19th with some of their fellow Democrats.
Yeah, there's also issues. I mean, people talked about how, I mean, she was a former prosecutor out of California that was on the radio joking about smoking pot after she had put a lot of people in jail for smoking pot. She seemed to be having kind of an identity crisis where she tried to become like kind of the funny, nicer candidate after people thought that she wasn't that. And if we look here, we're going to talk about some of the coverage that the president has seen since the impeachment inquiry began. This is from the major news networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC. I mean, look at the negative spin on the president's coverage, 96% to 4% positive. The president can't buy a positive story. I mean, isn't that what you just got to deal with that? That's part of being in politics, right?
It is part of politics, and I think it is ironic that after 2 years of a Russia collusion story, now we're going through the impeachment hearing, and there are people who are saying it's fair to talk about the president's phone call and determine whether or not there was any bad behavior there. But there are plenty of stories about the president that you could easily say are unfair, or at least are twisting in the narrative. The media definitely want to put him in a bad light. What we saw from the reporting of Kamala Harris was actually fair game. If anything, I think the reporting of her has been pretty favorable, pretty friendly. But as you mentioned, where she really got herself into trouble, I think, is trying to pretend that she's funny. She laughed at herself more than other people laughed at her, trying to show that she's just like one of us, and it often didn't play well, and I think the public saw through that.
I always say, just be yourself.
I know. Politicians never learn that lesson.
Seems so simple.
Beverly, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Someone who's always herself, and we love her for that.
Yes.